Zest against Serral. The winners match of this Group B is about to start on up. Let's get this ready to roll. It should be a fun winners match. I think this one should be pretty exciting as we get this rolling here. And set on up. Yeah, offline events that I really would love to go back to. Home Story Cup, I think, is just the easy answer. I actually would always suggest for anybody, if you want to go to an offline Starcraft 2 tournament, go to freaking Home Story Cup. It's as simple as that. It is the place to be. It is the best Starcraft 2 event to attend. There is nothing else like it. You know, if you want to just go and watch like a bunch of Starcraft games, maybe go to like Katowice or something. But if you want an experience, go to Home Story Cup. It's completely different to anything else. Alright, Zest versus Serral. As in the top right-hand side, our red Zerg player will be Serral. We saw him take down Maru yesterday, of course, to get to this winner's match. And today we just had this man, our Blue Protoss player, Zest, finish up with Max Packs to get the chance to play this ZvP. It should be kind of an exciting one. Where do these guys stand in terms of history? Because obviously there was that very important match in the semi-finals of that Katowice, which Serral lost. And that was the last time he dropped a map to Zest, actually. He beat Zest 2-0 to Cup last year, 3-0 to Stay at Home Story Cup, and a 1-0 in the Champions Brawl that happened earlier this year. That's actually crazy. In that series that Zest won in Katowice in the semi-finals with the glaives and all those trickeries, that was the only series Zest has ever won against Serral. You know, before that, he was actually on a 3, 5, 7, 9, 10 map plus losing streak that went all the way back to 2017, before Serral was even the dominant player that he is in this day and age, right? I mean, that actually is a bit of a statement that Zest just does not have a good track history against Serral. So, very excited to see what comes out of this, as Serral honestly looked great yesterday. I know he's coming, it's really weird because Serral's coming off of like his worst DreamHack performance in a long time. But his worst DreamHack performance off the back of ZvZ, that definitely seems to be his weaker matchup, and a matchup he's being mind-gamed and tricked in a lot. And now, you know, you're playing these, ZVTs and ZvPs, and, well, he looked great in ZVT, so we'll see how great he looks in ZvP as well, as we get this up and ready to roll. So Cybercore is going to be finishing in a moment or two. There's a couple of greens, a few lings on the way out, a drone on the way. I'm just going to be seeing our warp gate building up as well. So our warp gate already coming through at the moment. There's a couple of drones go across toward that left-hand side. Going to take the third hatch. Obviously was blocked initially, no surprises there. We see that pretty much every game as EVP. And that's just going to put down that Stargate. It is Stargate before warp gate, which is pretty typical. Gets the Stargate out a little bit faster. And just gets you those Stargate units up that little sooner to harass a little bit sooner, shut down overlords a bit quicker, all that kind of stuff. So that's what we see to begin with here is we have our drones. Mining away, of course, winner of this goes straight through to the playoffs. The loser will have to play the winner of Maru and Max Packs in the decider match, which will come up obviously a little bit later on today. So just a reminder of what's at stake here as well. I guess we have a slow opening. It would be rude of me not to say hello to YouTube, because let's face it, this series will go up on YouTube. What's up, YouTube? If you guys enjoying on the YouTube channel, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you're really enjoying, subscribe to see more awesome daily uploads here from WardiTV. Appreciate it. Alright, so, Void Ray pops out. Serral had a glimpse of the Stargate. He's tried to run the Overlord, and he actually turns it away, and he, for a moment, looked like he might have just snuck out of the Void Ray's pathing, but not quite the case. But of course, I mean, by running the Overlord, it keeps it alive a little bit longer, so you're not going to be as supply blocked as long here. You didn't need the replacement Overlord as quickly. So that's something to momentarily keep in mind. But, yeah, just going to be seen. I mean, another gate at the front and straight into a Twilight Council behind this Zest. So, the Twilight Council already starting, he's going to go straight towards that Resonating Glaives and look to be a little bit aggressive with the third base behind it. And yeah, some glaives, some harassment. For the moment, Serral just starts to drone. It's very difficult for him to know what the follow-up to this is. The one thing that he could maybe pick up on is if he realizes it's just that one Void Ray, realizes that then, okay, you're not building anything additional here. You're not going into additional voids, hence it's probably not in a second Stargate. And maybe that can tick Serral off towards the fact that, hey, I need to be able to defend against probably some Adepts, because that's a very common other way of setting up from this. And there is that Roach Roaring going down. Serral is putting the right things down at the right time. Of course, against this kind of Adept attack, you can also go up to the lair. This isn't like 4-gate glaives early in the game, so you can actually tech up a little bit as you build roaches here. And I imagine the lair will not be too far off for Serral. As you can see, he's got a while before glaives comes into play here, right? So he doesn't need to build roaches immediately. He can indeed, again, continue that tech up and then have a bit of a smoother transition to the mid-game with this defense. So our Overlord is moving around. I'm going to come for a rescout as well, and I love that from Serral. Getting this Overlord down here, avoided the Void Ray, and it means you can just double confirm exactly what's going on. You know, there's going to be no doubt in Serral's mind of what he is up against. He's going to be fully able to prepare exactly how he wants to. He did just make an additional round of drones, so he's going to be on 66 now, but he's already going to start building roaches. He's got the Queens pulled forward as well, and he is ready to jump on those Adepts and to stop them getting to those mineral lines. As Zest starts +1 air weapons, by the way, so double Stargate behind this. Wow. He's going to go 3 Stargates behind these Adepts, and that's going to be a lot of air production. Will he go for more Void Rays? Sometimes we see Phoenix coming up with this, as yeah, look at how prepared Serral is. That Scout allowing him to get a full wall off, and it just minimizes what these Adepts can do, so makes this a very clean defense so far. They will not shade over here, and even Serral was kind of convinced they would probably jump on a couple drones there. Yeah, all of these Adepts staying alive. Uh-oh, that is a full wall off, though, so now you're a little bit locked out of your base, which is unfortunate to say the least. Yeah, definitely a little bit unfortunate there, but such is life, as now these Adepts from Zest come all the way back down to the south. And, yeah, really didn't do anything at all with these, so Serral should be feeling pretty darn good. You know, that lair, did he cancel the lair initially? I mean, I can't be crazy, right? That lair feels as though it's been cancelled and restarted. I'm a little bit... Why wasn't the lair done by now? Because he did start that lair up a while back. So unless I'm really just mistiming how long all of this took. The lair finishes up, Overseer starts. Here come the Void Rays. Now, Serral, one thing that has been true is he has been kept on a certain drone count, so while Zest didn't lose any of the Adepts, it's not like Serral went into like a crazy high work count against this. And now he's going to start up a Hydra Den, which not a bad call when these Void Rays are on the way through, so you're going to end up playing kind of a Lingbane Hydra mix. Melee and missile upgrades on the way through, so he's actually going to have the upgrades for the Lingbane and the upgrade for the Hydras, which is really nice. Sometimes when you play Lingbane Hydra against these Voids and you kind of have the melee upgrades because you're focused on getting +2 melee, one-shotting the probes with the Balings, that's all well and good until the point where, you know, the Void Rays come flying through and they just kill everything because your Hydras aren't dishing out damage fast enough. So to see that missile upgrade so early as well should just aid with that a little bit as well. Plenty of Hydras coming through, and a few extra Adepts still building here from Zest, by the way, so still building Adepts is intriguing because it means there really isn't much else going on the ground at the moment here from Zest, right? And there isn't. There's no charge, there's no +1, there's no storm. This is actually just going to turn into like a massive Void Ray Adept attack. Serral probably needs to get some Banelings up to minimize the effect of these Adepts a little bit. I mean, just a few Banelings can go such a long way, forcing those Adepts to split up, and that effectively forces them to run instead of just turn and fight. A few Hydras coming out, of course. They will help a lot against the Void Rays, as we're going to see the Roaches going to be important here as well to tank for the Hydras. You don't want to let these Adepts on the Hydras, because that will be a lot of damage done. As Zest is being turned around, these Adepts will fall back, and Serral was very well prepared to deal with this. With the +1 missiles, as well as I think he really does just have the damage output to say, nope. This kind of thing doesn't work against what I'm doing right now, and yeah, it looks very, very good here for Serral, who does turn that around with ease. And now the problem for Zest is that he's not got any tech, right? He's low tech, he hasn't got the upgrades, he hasn't got the, the Storm, Temple Archives, or anything like that on the way here. So not looking pretty in that regard. We're just going to be seeing our few Void Rays, etc. So moving around, Serral now getting aggressive as well, by the way, so bringing these units through and bringing them into the center of the map, so pushing this forward a little bit and getting ready to maybe go and jump down onto that 4th base. Well, let's see if he can. I mean, he's maxed out. He knows his opponent is basically his Void Ray Adept, so why not try and take advantage of what is not meant to be the best composition? I mean, these Void Rays are kind of on their own as well, so there's not even the Adepts harassing them or aiding them underneath, because the Adepts are counter-attacking, to be fair. And Serral might just pull back to deal with that, although the Adepts are not too sure about wanting to go any further themselves. They're also going to pull it back right now. And bring themselves back down to the south side. So, back down to the bottom as Adepts are going to shade through again. Going to get through past these roaches. And, well, Queens are still kind of over here. Serral feels like he's a little bit of everywhere. Top left base, fourth goes down. There's a fight on the right side as well. Zest, I don't know what he's fighting there. I think, is it the Adepts against Roaches round 2? It is. And Serral's actually going to lose out on the right-hand side. Because this weird composition of Zest is suddenly all over the map. These Void Rays just recall home. And you really do just have, well, I mean, these Queens out in the middle of nowhere as well. They just were down here without any sort of aid. Now, a few Banes do show up, and those Adepts are going to have to start splitting. It's exactly what they will do. They are getting on top of Hydras, which is nice. A couple more Banes ready as the Adepts actually shade through. They want to obviously get rid of these Hydras so the Void Rays have a chance to outnumber and outmatch, but not sure they're going to be able to do that soon enough, and it looks like all the Adepts are gone. Serral will retaliate his own 4th base loss with a kill on the 4th base of Zest. A couple Corrosive Vials are so annoying because it forces those Void Rays to move while taking damage, which means they're not going to be putting out damage at the same time, and that is going to be Serral able to close out this Game 1 victory. GG. Because, yeah, it really is. When you both play on NA, like, yeah, one of them will have a bit more ping than the other guy, and maybe you could argue, like, a certain race is affected less by ping, certain styles are affected less, but it's just not worth getting into that discussion because there's so many, again, there's so many variables that we just, you know, the only thing that comes out of it is that people then start creating excuses like, well, Zest only lost because of ping, and that's just not a healthy discussion, you know? Alright, so we're waiting for game number 2 on 2,000 atmospheres. See what Zest wants to go for here. Is again a win for Serral right now. Sends him through to the playoffs. I think that would be a bit of a statement that Serral really needs at the moment. Because I think a lot of people are looking at Serral in this event and sort of saying, hey, you know, you didn't qualify to the DreamHack season finals. You know, how good really are you? And Serral's like, well, I feel like I'm in the best shape I've been in a long time. But he got eliminated from DreamHack. If Serral comes out of this group in first place, I'm not going to say it's going to silence people and kind of make a full statement, because some people will still say some things, right? But I do think it's a really good, like, hey, look, I actually am in a really good place. I had a couple unfortunate ZvZ series, but it was nothing more than that, right? Like, I am looking to be one of the top right now. It would be really impressive if Serral just went on a sick run through this event and just won it out. It'd be cool for him to pick up a big win at the end, I think. Because we don't just get big Serral victories every single day nowadays, you know? Every single tournament that happens is a bit different. As he gets set up. And ready to rumble. I was gonna see that probe moving around to the upper right. Having a little look to see what's going on. Probably on a little bit of a patrol, having a little bit of an adventure there, a bit of back and forth as we get settled down, obviously. No block on the natural expansion means that Serral is able to just kind of have that normal economy early in the game, and that's, you know, a convenience you don't really get nowadays in ZvP. Usually you do have that hatchery pushed off elsewhere. It's, pretty crazy as a Queen building up on that hatch, and just going to be seeing Zergling speed coming through as well from Serral, getting that up and ready to go. A couple Queens, a few drones on the way out. A warp gate coming through, and a Stargate on the way from Zest as well. Getting that up and running. So all of that coming into play right now is we do have our Link Speed, our Queen. We'll just continue to build right at the moment. And, well, Serral just going to take this Overlord through to double check what's up, sees the Stargate. I mean, not surprising to see Zest opening Stargate again, especially on a larger map like 2,000 atmospheres. I think that is just an expectation. The question is, what does he do with the Stargate? Does he want to play Void Rays? Does he want to, you know, play one Void Ray Oracle into teching up a ground army. I'd be surprised if he went Glaives again. So, yeah, first Void Ray, very expected. After that, we'll find out a little bit more of exactly how this looks as we go on through. And it's going to go rally down towards that Overlord. Just notice no cameras. Yeah, I think if one player doesn't have a camera available, they just do no cameras. And I think Zest doesn't have a camera based on the Team League lately. And MaxPax obviously has no camera, right? So, yeah, if we've had no cameras, then I think it just is a case of both these guys, or one of these guys just doesn't have a camera and they don't want to just put one player on the screen. I know. We did have cameras for Maru versus Serral, which is nice, but apparently that's just a one-day thing. Unfortunately. Alright, this Hadra going to finish up on the third base location as well. It's just going to be getting that completed. As the Queen's moving around, a Spore Crawler or two will begin as well. So just getting all of that set up as our Overlords will gather together here. And the third Nexus already starting up out on the low ground. And there we do have a confirmation of what we get to see in this game. Double Stargates. So something very different to what we had in that previous game, of course. A big change of pace for sure. Let's see if it's one that Zest can use to his advantage. Oh, it's a fleet beacon as well. Well, it is 2,000 atmospheres, and this is the map to go for that fleet beacon on. Usually a fleet beacon on this map means we're going to see Tempest. People really love to do the Tempest harassment on this map and then transition into that army, you know, from that point onward. So you kind of need to go Corruptors to deal with the Tempest, and then by the time you go Corruptors, well, there's a whole bunch of Void Rays up. So the Protoss is always a step ahead of you on kind of having the set of units which should win the fight. So yeah, let's see what we see. There is the possibility as well that there is also that possibility that we have a carrier play. If this was any other map than 2000, I'd be more on board with the carrier play. But Void Rays, oh wow, is it just Flux Veins? Or is it because this Overlord scout and he wants to try and hide it? I'm not sure where exactly the fleet beacon is. And if this Overlord will see the fleet beacon. Stars +1 air weapons, Overlord. I mean, the vision's great, but I can't see what's down to the south. Oh my god. They show us the Overlord vision and the vision of Serral, but they don't show us what he actually saw. I don't know if he glimpsed that fleet beacon or not. I don't know if he did. He might have done. I don't know. Looks as though we're just going to keep on building Void Rays anyway. So Zest, very interesting then that you've got this fleet beacon. Maybe because it's scouted, he decides, right, I'm not going to go for it. And now he starts a Twilight Council. So yeah, it definitely feels like Zest is switching things up based on the scouting of Serral. I mean, look at Serral. Spire, Infestation Pit, immediately setting up for a whole chunk of air units and harassment, etc. And if all of a sudden we're going to see a Twilight and, oh wow, it's going to be Carriers and Storm, I guess. Oh my goodness, well, this game is just wild. So this is basically just going straight at Carriers while also trying to get like a reasonable ground army up. I'm kind of intrigued as to what actually comes out of this, right? I'm very, very interested. I'm not really sure what actually happens here, right? Because usually you go for these two carriers before the two voids, and that doesn't seem like a huge difference. But that's the difference of Serral being prepared to deal with the carriers and not being prepared. So now the carriers don't get any initial like harassment done or anything. Maybe this becomes just that much weaker, right? And if this is that much weaker, is this something you really want to be committing into? Yeah, then I get a little bit interested. Like, then is it not possible for Serral to just fully punish this? He's on his way to Hive, by the way. Spire is done. 84 drones. I mean, unless Zest has something to fight with sometime soon, Serral is just running away into the macro game. And if there's one play which I still think a lot of people don't want to play in that macro game, it usually is Serral. His late game control is just out of this world. You know, it's extraordinary. And at a consistent level as well. It's not just like he has the odd game where it's like, holy crap, his late game. It's like every single time he plays, his late game is just like, wow. So, do you really want to be heading there? Flux Veins on the way. Building an Immortal. What was the Temple Archives for? Did we just build a couple Archons and that was just it? Some supporting Archons here? I don't think he's built anything out of it, right? Honestly, I don't know if Zest knows what he's doing. It feels like he's just rolling a D20 and, you know, based on what number shows up, he's like, oh, right, I'll build that now. Oh, I'll build that now. And it has to be a D20 because there's just apparently so many different things you can start building in this game. Because he's just switched his plan what feels like so many times at this point. At this point, I guess we're going to have... I mean, the thing is, the Immortals just... They will buffer a little bit on the ground, but I'm not sure how much of a difference they make. Serral still, by the way, just Greatest Spire, Ultraless Cavern, really just allowed to play straight into his late game. Like, he's going to have access to absolutely everything. And off of 85 drones, so he's going to have a great economy for it. I mean, 5th base is on the way up already, so that's not being harassed or slowed down. What Zest will have is one very strong timing at +2 air weapons. And the question will be, how well prepared will Serral be for that? Exactly. And that's definitely something which I think is oftentimes, well, a very good question. I know Serral was in our chat the other day when Neeb was playing against Reno in the ESL Open Cup, and Neeb ended up on something similar to this, like a large army +2 air weapons, and Serral was just like, I'm pretty sure Reno's just dead. And surely enough, 3 minutes later, Reno was just dead. So... Serral, he's making broods. I'm not sure if he really needs broods as much as he just needs even just corruptors, right? I mean, the broods do help a little bit against the ground, but what is that even on the ground? Now Storm starts. 3 more robos are building. Okay, there are quite a few zealots, so actually I guess it's not that bad that we actually have the brood lords. They will slow the zealots down a bit, keep them busy. This game has just been absolutely random. It just, honestly, it feels like Zest has just taken everything you would usually do. I feel like Zest was trying to be smart and, like, respond to what Serral is responding to. But in doing so, it feels like he's got himself, you know, caught up in a web that he just can't escape. Like, yeah, eventually he's going to have a bit of everything that he wanted. But before then... Tell you what is fun. He's going to have these Immortals. Now, you might think, what the hell are these Immortals for? There was a time, was it Austin 2018, when Mana used to go for, like, this Immortal... kind of timing against Broodlords. This is a very different meta, so Void Rays weren't really a thing then and stuff. But there was a time where it's like the +2 attack against the Broodlords, and it's funny because the Immortals then chunk down the Broodlings so quickly they can actually clear the way and get the Broodlings out of the way fast enough. I think that was back in 2018, and it was something along those lines in terms of how it worked. And like, that's the only thing that really comes to my mind here, because otherwise this is just... Well, there are 6 Immortals? I just don't see what else you would have been building these Immortals for. Like, yeah, sure, there's a few Roaches, there's Queens, but there's freaking Broodlords. So unless you really believe in these Immortals to help out against the Brood, let's find out. Well, Void Ray's already coming into the fight. Not really having a good time. There's so many Queens here, and Spore Crawlers coming forward as well. Big Zell counterattack to the top side, and Serral will respond to that. And that's why Serral needs to keep some units on the ground. Because if he only has Broodlords, and that's his only kind of like air-to-ground army, then he is in a serious amount of trouble. So, you know, because they are just so slow, they can't respond to attacks like this. But right now, boom. Shows up, cleans that out. Run by is not effective. Because now, Zest is just losing units. 2 Spore Crawlers, which isn't meant to happen either. And they continue to press on forward here. A few Queens and a few Broods are feeling adventurous compared to the rest. The Immortals are just going to go and counterattack. Is that a thing? That we just counterattack with the Immortals that we made specifically? Like... Oh, you know, this is one of these games where I really wish we had a pro player with us to really just see if they are as accused as me. Oh man, I'm gonna see these couple of Archons going down. Cannon gang taking some damage as well. Continuing through, there's a couple more Stargates on the way up as well. So again, a lot of setup at the moment, a lot of build up here from Zest with the idea of just going into a future army. These Broodlords are on their own, and that is Zest able to make a grab, getting a few kills. Nicely handled as we transfuse up those Broods a little bit. That Void Ray is having similar things. I mean, here come these Immortals, which, to be fair, if Serral is so focused on Broodlords and air armies, these Immortals do make a pretty darn good counterattack. This was not how I thought they would be used, but it works out to at least kill this topside base. So Serral has to sacrifice a base. That's okay. These Immortals are going to start recalling out. He will get 1 kill. Just 1 more at the end. So the Immortals get back home. I mean, very low HP as well. Serral rebuilds that hatchery. He still has bases down the right side of the map, so I'm not sure if it's that much of a problem for him. And in future, now he'll just have a few more lings on the map to make sure that those immortals don't do much. But then he could maybe add on a few zealots and make stuff difficult as well. Just going to be seeing a bunch of batteries. Going to build up in the bottom side of that is queens and broods, corruptors and vipers. All continue to join up down the bottom also. Going to see these few broodlings going in. Already one pylon being picked up. Yeah, those interceptors going to continue through as well, so doing what they can to pick away at some bits and pieces. Here comes this Broodlord Queen force. Still going for a little bit of a pressure forward. And these batteries are going to remain to be in some trouble right now. Well, Zest comes back around through into the center of the map. Again, this Corrupted Viper force. What's up? Banes, Banes, Banes! Getting stormed done to pieces. Now we run on through. Pylon goes down. A lot of these probes are dropping the super battery, healing up whatever is possible as well. As these Zerglings, I mean, this counterattack in from Serral is just going to rip Zest base to shreds. So, Zest basically has this army and this army only. This army is going to try and win this game. So, let's see if it can. I mean, Serral has the money to rebuild. The problem is, if this fight happens on Serral's side of the map, you don't get as much of a chance to rebuild, right? Because obviously then these units are just going to be on top of your reproduction. Couple Vipers going down. They do get some parasitic bombs off. The War Prism is really hunting for a chance to storm with the High Templar. That War Prism's still around. Kind of going lower on HP. Both players are losing a lot. Transfusions are going down everywhere. Prismatic Alignment popped on the Void Rays. The Interceptors are all dead. So these carriers aren't dealing any damage any longer. So without any Interceptors, this army really has no power in it. And that's where Zest is going to get absolutely destroyed. And Serral is going to make the hold to get out of this group with a clean 2-0-4-0. Serral making a statement after that weaker DreamHack performance and getting out of this group in first place.